Merry Christmas, motherfuckers!
Merry Christmas.
How's your Christmas going, fella?
Yeah, it's good. Had the lurgies, but I'm recovering.
Yeah, everyone's been fucked in the UK, or in London anyway.
Yeah, I think I've read an article where everyone's thought they've been shut down with COVID, but it's just general lurgies. So yeah,
You've been tested?
yeah, I've been testing. Yeah, nothing. But
I've tested once.
and I'm more or less done all my Christmas shopping, so that's good.
I get my Christmas shopping done in like November.
Have you done it already?
Well, I say that like Sophie does it all, but
Alright.
I get her to do it all in November. Yeah, because then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to stress out. Things aren't as expensive yet. You hit Black Friday. All that nonsense.
Got all the next week off as well, so. But those, because I think Monday, Tuesday's a bank holiday, so everyone went in for that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Just by booking 3 days, you get the whole week off.
Yeah, I always book off that.
got
I
it.
always want a good 10-day period.
Yeah. And then I'm just gonna chill, big time, man.
Banging.
Yeah.
Alright, so today is our Christmas knockout tournament. We have 16 Christmas films facing up against each other. We're going to do a fair draft. Nothing's been fixed beforehand. I'm going to pick out a film. Phil's going to pick out a film. And those films will face off against each other. And then naturally we'll go a round of 8, then a round of 4, 2, and that's the final 2.
We'll go to the final.
My maths was struggling.
No, that's alright.
For a second.
We'll get to the final, and hopefully, viewers, by process of elimination, we will be able to answer for you what is the greatest Christmas film of all time.
Yeah. Or we'll lose the best film in like the second round.
Yeah.
This is annoying. This is the annoying thing about knockout tournaments. It's like in the World Cup where you have like France faces Portugal, and then in another round you have like Morocco faces fucking Venezuela or some shit.
Well, you never know, because all tasting films is kind of everyone's opinions, so we might knock out a very strong contender early. You never know.
Controversial point.
Yeah.
Right, so should we get to the first round?
Yes, let's do the first round. Let's kick this motherfucker off.
Alright, so I guess we'll go left to right, and we have Die Hard versus Tangerine.
I would say Die Hard is probably my favourite Christmas film of all time, because I like an unconventional film. I like Christmas, but sometimes all that lovey-dovey stuff is put in your face too much.
Do you actually care about that, or is it the fact that Die Hard is just so good?
Both.
Fair enough.
Both.
I really like Tangerine. It is a really good film, really gross film at times, unless you're into that sort of thing. But it's brilliant. It's, I really like that director. He made that follow-up film about the porn star. Just really good. Like, he's one of those guys where I think that was his first film, and he's only made 2 to date, I think so. He's one of those guys where you look forward to seeing what he comes up with next. But let's be real, gotta go with Die Hard here.
Yeah, I think to eliminate Tangerine, I just think the subject matter involved is not Christmassy enough, even though it's set at Christmas. In Die Hard, even though it's not Christmas, you've got when he dresses him in the Santa hat, ho ho ho, I have a machine gun. So it scrapes it on that, just for me. And it's a much better film, let's be honest.
It is, it's just better. Like, it's probably the easiest choice we'll make today. So, Tangerine,
Goodbye.
You're gone. Okay, so next we got The Snowman versus Gremlins. The Snowman is iconic. I actually don't know if it's iconic at all if you're outside of the UK. But it's a really iconic cartoon from, I think it was it the 80s?
Yeah.
Maybe, no, it was the 80s, wasn't it? But I always had a feel like it was older. And it was like this, it was famous for this little kid who was he was like a little child star opera singer. Had a beautiful voice. It's kind of the voice where
Alec Jones.
Even as a kid you're like, that's a beautiful voice, but I don't enjoy this at any level. It's like the way like you just don't enjoy classical music as a kid.
Yeah, his voice hasn't dropped and it's just like, I'm walking in. So yeah, that part.
It's essentially like one long music video rather than a film. It was only about 40 minutes long, wasn't it?
I was about to say that. For me, this one's easy just on the fact that I don't actually consider The Snowman as an actual film. It's just a TV episode. I see it as. So for me, Gremlins is just like that classic brilliant time period film. What, in the 80s was it? It's such an 80s film. And it's just a fantastic thrill ride. For me, it's easily Gremlins.
Yeah, Gremlins is one of the favourite films, period, let alone Christmas film. Thing is though, The Snowman, I wouldn't say I like it, but I do kind of want to put it through because it is iconic. It's one of the most iconic things, and if you're from Scotland or ever been to Scotland, they have the famous Iron Brew adverts that every year for Christmas that take the piss out of it. But it's just got to be... It's got to be Gremlins.
Thinking in the long run though, if you put it through on Sympathy now, is it going to advance any further?
Yeah, it's like X Factor where you put through the retarded people.
It's like Saudi Arabia or something, or in the World Cup. It's like they beat Argentina, but they're just going to not go through, are they?
So Snowman, you suck. See you later.
God. We have the Krampus versus Polar Express. Now this is an interesting matchup because you couldn't get two different films against each other. For this episode, I know that you didn't see Polar Express. I had never seen it before.
I thought you had.
No, I just put it...
It was one of your...
I know it was one of my picks, but it was a film that was always on my list. I didn't rate it that highly, to be honest with you. I just saw it as a poor man's Pixar effort. That's what I thought. And then, I don't know, I haven't looked into this much, but Tom Hanks seemed to voice every single person that was in it.
Yeah, that put me off as well. I remember at the time there was a lot of buzz about the technology they were using, which is pretty cool, and I like the motion capture and all that. Not so much how it was used in animations, but more how it was used for... for, like Gollum and in live action CGI. But I just never, I was never excited. When certain things come out and they're like, it's going to be the future of 3D, or they finally figured out, Tintin in motion capture and all this shit. And I just never give a shit about that. I never get excited when people say that.
I mean...
So it just meant nothing to me.
Yeah.
And it is good. And it is beautiful.
Yeah.
I remember I never saw it in IMAX when it first came out, which I guess was how you really were going to get the most out of it. But apparently it was amazing. I remember my friend always going on about how you could see the snow and it was like it was falling on you. But outside of that, I mean, it's not Avatar, which I don't even particularly like, but in terms of spectacle you have to see in the cinema.
Yeah, I agree.
But I feel like you still get, if you liked Avatar, you still get a lot out of it without seeing it on the big screen with the amazing sound and the 3D. Whereas this, I was just a bit like, It felt like it was an excuse to try out the technology, but I don't really get why it's beloved by a lot of people.
Yeah, and I just found it to be a bit... Maybe I'm a Scrooge in my older age now. I just found it a bit annoying after a while. There was one character in it, there's some little nerdy kid who was just pissing me off the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm going to open my present! Who was deliberately like that, but towards the end I'd lost interest in it, so... Yeah.
Krampus,
yeah,
fucking great film. I love this film. A lot of people don't like this film, and I think it didn't... I don't think it had a lot of success when it came out, but the cast is really good. And there's something about it that feels quite old-fashioned to me. The way the story plays out and the way it is. It is a horror Christmas movie. More so even than your Gremlins and the likes. It really is a horror film.
I quite like this because it's unconventional, again, for a Christmas film. And it kind of gives me that kind of, Jeepers Creepers kind of vibe to it. So I'm going Krampus personally.
Yeah. Alright, Krampus it is. See you later, Polar Express. Right, now we come... This is one of those early matchups where you think this could be the final right here.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life versus Home Alone. Now we're counting the franchise as well here. Once you get to the top tier of best films ever, I don't even really worry about number ones or lists. I kind of just think of contenders. And I genuinely think It's a Wonderful Life. It is a worthy contender for greatest film of all time. If someone said they think it's the greatest film of all time, I wouldn't jump off definitely. But I also wouldn't... I'd be like, that's fine. As opposed to if they say Deep Blue Sea, someone we know is the greatest film of all time. So, fucking love Home Alone though. Recently, me and Sophie went to a cinema night out to do a double bill in some bar watching Home Alone 1 and 2.
Right, that's good.
And it's funny because you watch them both and they're basically literally the same film. But I realised the reason why Home Alone 2 is so much better, or just as good, even though it's the exact same plot, even where they kind of make a joke in the movie that it's the same plot as the first one. But it's the fact that you already have an amazing cast in the first one. You know, you got Joe Pesci and Macaulay Culkin. But then they add in like Tim Curry. What's the little guy who's friends with Adam Sandler?
Oh shit! I know the name.
Roy Schneider.
Yeah.
As the little bellboy.
Yeah,
And just
yeah.
there's the gross pigeon lady that everyone says looks like Piers Morgan.
Yeah. And also, it's just set in like. Obviously, Home Alone 1's so good, I guess, because the main attraction of it is the house, and he's defending his house. But it's just you get to see shots of like New York at like Christmas time. It's just fucking
Donald Trump helping him in the lobby.
Yeah, that scumbag.
I can't not put through It's a Wonderful Life though.
Yeah. I mean, Home Alone's got to be put up there as one of the greatest Christmas films of all time. There's no debating that.
And again, just one of the greatest films of all time as well.
But I rewatched It's a Wonderful Life again for this episode. And it's just like, I can't really explain it. It's just, it's got that really like old school, like warm feeling to it, and like, you know, all the black and white, and it's just something that makes it great. And, you know, Clarence is one of the all-time great characters. So I think, even though they're both great films, I just think It's a Wonderful Life just a tier above.
And James Stewart as well. Like,
and James Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart's the best, man.
I mean, there was some weird scenes in it that kind of escaped me when, for some reason, the girl he's with just gets naked and goes into a bush.
Yeah, it was great. Can you imagine it? Oh, that must have been fucking awesome.
And
back
they were
in the
like,
day.
and he was like, I don't know if I should give you your trousers back.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is jokes.
Bit Me Too-ish, but yeah.
But yeah,
in a good way.
I'm in agreement with you.
Wholesome sexual harassment. Yeah, so sorry Macaulay Culkin.
But I would say that if Home Alone was up against anything else, it would probably go through.
Probably get to the final.
That's the luck of the draw, mate. The knockout.
Probably get to the final, but not on this occasion.
Sorry, Kevin.
Right, so that's that side sorted. So next up, we have Miracle on 34th Street and Muppets Christmas Carol.
I'm going to go... I think I might be a bit controversial here, and straight up, I'm going for Muppets Christmas Carol. Again, I rewatched it, and I just, it's just so fun. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. The whole, you know, Scrooge, Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol thing has been done, however many times to dryness. But the way they use this, we all know the Muppets are fun, but the way the comedy in it and everything like that, I just think it's a great film, personally.
Yeah, Miracle on 34th Street, original and the remake. That is part of the reason why I think it's such a good Christmas film. Is that sort of until the end where it does hint that he actually is Santa Claus. I don't like that ending, and I choose to just ignore that bit where he actually does do some magical shit. Because for me, the movie is so much better. The fact that if you take it as he is just an insane old man, but everyone, the public, the lawyer, the boss of the toy company, and even the bribed judge end up siding with him just because they get into the spirit of Christmas. And that means more about the spirit of Christmas, because that is the reality of Christmas. There is no magical Santa Claus. There is no magical bullshit. Everyone chooses to buy into this whole idea of being nice to each other and having, you know, a better camaraderie for each other at just a particular time of the year. And it is all just bullshit, and it is all just fabrication, and it is all truly built on nothing and have nothing truly behind it. It only works because we all choose to buy into it. And that's the same as in Miracle on 34th Street. So in some ways, I feel like it captures that sense of the reality of why Christmas is such a great time of year, better than any other film. But Muppets Christmas Carol is just it's just better.
Are you going for it as well?
Yeah.
You're not saying that because I said it, are you?
No.
Okay, cool.
Muppets Christmas Carol is just... Although, for future, if we do something like this again, we should firstly get a better setup, because this looks cheap as shit. Also, have a third person because we need a tiebreaker.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to need to like do a fun war or something if we actually do end up getting stuck. But the Muppets Christmas Carol is so much fun. You have one of the things about the Muppets movies is whenever they're doing, Muppets do fucking Jane out of Arc or whatever the fuck they're doing. You're waiting for like, okay, is who's gonna play this character? Oh, it's Miss Piggy. Who's gonna play this character? Oh, it's that weird monster guy who played drums in the original. And I generally think it's the best version of A Christmas Carol. Like, it gets me more than any one of them. Even when it gets serious at the end, like, it helps for the fact that as much as you are watching puppets perform all the parts, the heart of the movie is Michael Caine, who is one of the best actors ever. So, perfect movie.
And what I really liked about this is they made sure to, like, pay, like, proper tribute to, like, Charles Dickens. They were, like, saying the whole time, oh, no, this is from a book. Read the book as well. Like, I for some reason, I really like that. Before we make the final decision, are we discussing the original Miracle on 34th Street as well?
I forgot I did that. Alexa, stop. Say that again.
And you're not going to be swayed further if we discuss the original Miracle on 34th Street? I mean, I've made my decision here.
No, I was factoring that in. I love the original too. But, it's got to be Muppets Christmas Carol.
Cool.
Okay, up next we have Bad Santa vs. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation special. These are another two perfect. Like,
yeah, no,
it is weird how well this has worked out.
Two quite similar films, although one has a lot more adult humour than the other one.
Quite similar stars though as well, or at least the characters they're playing, where they're both funny pricks.
Yeah, essentially.
Chevy Chase's whole thing, and his real personality to an extent, is, his comedy is around being an arrogant douche. And
same with Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Bob Thornton's character, I mean, he does other things, and he does loads of things. He's sympathetic characters as well. But in this, he is a dickhead that you fucking find hilarious and love, because he's just being a selfish prick the whole time.
Well, yeah, he's a dickhead who does a side hustle of being a Christmas Santa just to rob malls, basically. So
what I like about it as well, though, like talking about Miracle on 34th Street again, it is a grounded film. Like it feels like it could have happened, even though it's a bit, it's a comedy and it's silly in parts. It feels very believable, and it's grounded in reality. And the way in which he redeems himself and ends up doing the right thing, again, it sort of pokes that the real magic of Christmas in real life, where there's not actually magic of it, but it does get to people. People do end up being nice or doing the right thing around Christmas time, or wanting to help people more around Christmas time, even when they're a hunk of shit. And the little fat kid's hilarious.
Oh, the little fat kid's hilarious. Now, switching to the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, it's just a bit of a boring formula by this point, because they've done so many...
How many had there been by this point?
About 5. It's like, how many holidays and shit can you go on and like electrocute yourself or get lost or your car blows up?
Yeah, I think it was the first it was still successful, but I think it was the first time when the inbuilt audience was kind of a bit like, ugh.
Tired of it.
Yeah.
So it's got to go for me.
Alright, that was easy. National Lampoon, fuck off. Alright, next up we got Mrs. Miracle 2 versus Nightmare... No, what am I talking about? A Nightmare Before Christmas. I keep calling it Nightmare on Elm Street. Right, so Mrs. Miracle 2, I wanted to put one of these in it. Basically, it's a Hallmark, made-for-TV type shitty Christmas movie. And I generally, especially in the past couple of years, I watch more of these. Probably about 4-to-1 ratio of these awful films to good Christmas films. And I don't know why, I just love them. They're so shit. And they're so cheap. There's usually 2 sets, maybe 3 sets. It's usually sort of like a house, which is probably like a house that is just on the market, new build, that they rent out for a week to film in. You just like the actors are always horrible, although it's kind of funny watching them and looking for actors that used to be pretty big at one point winding up in them. Like, you get some fairly big time actors. Like this Mrs. Miracle 2 has the mum from Everybody Loves Raymond, which is actually quite big time for these sort of films. That's like a star. That's like Brad Pitt in a normal movie.
Yes, unfortunately I got tasked with the research behind this film and I had to watch some of it. Most of it.
And did you actually watch most of it?
Yeah. Genuinely, it was awful. to summarise the plot, Mrs. Miracle, her name's pronounced Miracle in it, but everyone's like, let's call her Mrs. Miracle. She turns up out of the blue like an angel and helps a failing toy shop sell toys, and that's the miracle, and they keep in business. And it was generally, as you said, the acting was quite terrible. There's a little kid in it, and then the mum's like, oh, do you want to go to the store and buy a ballerina? And he's like, Mum, I'm a boy. And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
And there's always like a soldier coming home in time for Christmas, and they all salute the flag and like.
I mean, so you know, sometimes like films are like so shit, they're so good kind of thing. I cannot say that about this film.
Really? Oh, fair enough.
But again, this might be a controversial one, but I'm going to tell the truth, I never really ever got into A Nightmare Before Christmas that much.
Really?
Yeah, it's just the whole like... It's a good film. It looks very good, like, in terms of style. You can see, as you said, Tim Burton didn't direct it. Everyone thinks he did.
Yeah, his fingerprints all over it.
He just produced it. The look of it is Tim Burton. But I just couldn't, for some reason, Declan, I just couldn't, even watching it from young, I just couldn't stand that every 10 minutes there's a song in it. It just really used to wind me up, and it used to like slow it down so much for me. So something happens and it's like, I'm the boogeyman, and I just didn't like it.
I fucking love the songs, but fair enough, and I'm shocked.
That's my controversial one.
Well, on those grounds then, I'm going to nominate Mrs. Miracle 2 to go forward.
No, we can't. Even if I didn't like it personally, it's got to be Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, you didn't like it, though. You just said you didn't.
Yeah, but I disliked Mrs. Miracle even more.
Yeah, but I like Mrs. Miracle.
Yeah, but that's
more than I like.
That's just gonna get decimated in next round.
Well, you don't know that.
All right,
maybe you'll
get rid of it.
I wasn't expecting it.
They don't call her Mrs. Miracle for nothing.
Yeah, miracles can come true. Look, you know, I can't the fact that you actually weren't that bothered about Nightmare Before Christmas. I can't pass up the opportunity.
It's kind of like a Snowman vibe. It's only like an hour, 10 minutes long. I just couldn't get into it. It's like FIFA. How much have they paid me to let this man?
I know. What the fuck, man? Next, we have Love Actually vs. Elf. I'd never seen Love Actually before until the other night. Always thought it looked like an annoying chicks movie, even though I do like Richard Curtis's films. And I watched it, and I fucking liked it. Thought it was really good. It did it for me. I like those little ensemble films. I like the fact that although I never saw it when I was a kid, I remember it being quite iconic when I was a kid, and you know, a lot of it was on TV a lot, and people were talking about it a lot, and it kind of brought me back to that age a little bit. And any film that does that for me, I like. But it's got to be Elf, surely.
Yeah, there's no. See, what you just described about it, I thought it was going to be a chick flick. I'm still in that camp. It just reminds me of a kind of like Notting Hill thing, but at Christmas.
Yeah, and I hate Notting Hill. And it's one of those films where it's interesting where it is Richard Curtis movies like that. They're not an English film. It's not an English film made for English people. It's an English film made in England with English actors by an English director for Americans.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Because even when like he has actors that aren't posh, he makes them speak posh a lot of the time for that reason. Unless they're supposed to be an idiot, in which case they'll be a Cockney or something.
But with Elf, like, It's just a genius film. Will Ferrell's perfect in it. It's got that really good... It's that really good type of film where you've got jokes that are just for kids, but you've also got the adult jokes in it that the kids don't understand, but your dad's laughing at it. Do you know what I mean?
Launched two big movie careers as well. Will Ferrell wasn't a movie star at all, or an actor really at all up until the point. And Jon Favreau directing his first film.
Yeah, great film.
Who went on to do big things in Marvel and all that. But also, it's the kind of film where no one else gets that right. Like, if you don't have Will Ferrell for that role, it just doesn't work.
No,
you may as well not make the film. Like, it just wouldn't work. It would be shite or embarrassing. It would remind you of like when Vin Diesel would try and do a family movie.
Yeah.
And he'd fucking like have that be a spy, and he'd be trying to give a duck a bath.
Like the Rocker's Tooth Fairy or something.
Yeah.
Shit like that. Yeah.
Like, it just ends up being one of those films where you see a trailer and you're like, that looks awful, and it dies and never comes back. But this ends up becoming a beloved Christmas film and modern classic. So, see you later, Love Actually.
So completes the first round. We are now down, viewers, to the last 8. So we are essentially... We've hit the quarter-final mark. Good group stages, actually.
Alright.
Some surprises.
Yeah, we needed one surprise going through.
She's here.
Mrs. Miracle 2.
Look at her little smug smiling face.
First up, we got Muppets Christmas Carol vs. Bad Santa.
I really do like Bad Santa, but I just don't think it can beat Muppets Christmas Carol. Muppets Christmas Carol is just a great Christmas family film, and it just gives you that warm Christmassy feeling, whereas Bad Santa is more of the opposite.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to come up with something to pad this bit out.
Yeah.
Muppets Christmas Carol dunks its balls on Bad Santa's head when it comes down to it. So,
Bad Santa
see you later, Bad
quite
Santa.
far, actually.
So now we got Mrs. Miracle 2 versus Elf.
The dark horse of the tournament rears its head again. I think the underdog story comes to an end now, unfortunately, for old Mrs. Miracle. She's had a good run, but Elf is just far superior.
See,
don't say Mrs. Miracle.
well, I've actually probably watched Mrs. Miracle more times, and she's kind of representing all the cheapo, made-for-TV, hallmarky, awful Christmas films, which I love and watch more of these days.
No, I'm not having this, because if you had, like, let's be fair, if you had Elf versus a similarly good film, like Elf versus Muppets Christmas Carol could be a good one, but you just can't. It's just so much better than Mrs. Miracle. You can't lose it. It is.
Well, to be fair though, you didn't actually watch the whole film, Phil.
I watched some of it, and it was literally... I'd rather gouge out my eyes than watch it again.
You didn't watch the whole film though, so should you be disqualified from having that opinion?
No. Unless you want to give Mrs. Miracle a bye.
I think Mrs. Miracle
No.
get through to the next round.
It's got to be off, man. Sorry. I think...
Alright, should we ching chang chong for it since
No, I think Elf needs to get to the later stages and then really come up against...
it's a draw, it's got to go to penalties.
Oh. Alright, we'll ching chang chong it, and then best out of 3.
If you win, you get the honour of being right and actually winning.
Okay.
Okay, so ching
Best
chang
out of
chong.
3, yeah?
Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Ah, you fuck.
Is it best out of 3?
Yeah, you got 2.
Oh, did I?
You
Alright,
bastard.
sorry, Mrs.
Alright.
Miracle.
Mrs. Miracle, I let you down. Sorry. Alright, so next we have Die Hard vs. Gremlins.
Again, two, well, not similar films, but kind of...
This is a tough one.
You got terrorists versus, in their own way, little terrorists.
Yeah, similar actually. They're both not conventional Christmas films. Oh, this is a hard one actually. This really is tough.
This might be tougher than Home Alone versus...
Okay, let's run through the not cons, but let's run through the pros. Okay, so Gremlins, you've got the cute little gremlin. You've got the cool little Chinese dude at the start. you've got the evil little gremlins.
Yeah, Gizmo.
Die Hard, you got the great, legendary, late
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman. Pretty much the launch of Bruce Willis's action career. Some of the best action scenes of all time.
Yeah. One of the best deaths of a villain ever.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, actually, yeah. One of the best douchebags who get their comeuppance.
Yeah.
Cokehead characters.
But Gremlins is also pretty cool, because it's like a film of... It's like, if you've never seen the film, it's like a film of like two halves. Again, using the sports analogy.
And I love Gremlins too, as well.
Because...
Oh, but hold up, we're counting the franchise, so we got to include the whole Die Hard.
It starts off with Gizmo, and you're like, oh, this is just a really cute film about this really cute furry thing. And then, of course, he gets water, and then all hell breaks loose. So it's like a really cool half and half film. But I just, as I said, I mean, I might have to make you make this decision, because I'm very biased here to Die Hard. Which is going to cloud my it's going to cloud my judgment. But I do like Gremlins as well.
Do you know what? I love Gremlins, but
I think
I'll give Die Hard to you on this one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Alright.
That was a tough one, though.
So next we have It's a Wonderful Life versus Krampus. So this is going to be a really tough one.
Krampus has got... Fair play to Krampus. It's got a lot further than I thought. When I saw...
got one round. You're saying it like it's...
Yeah, but it could have easily... It could have...
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, I don't think we need to debate this.
It's a Wonderful Life.
This is actually really hard. I know we keep saying that every time, but this one's difficult, you know?
Do you know what's going to swing it for me? The only thing I think that's jumping out to me? No. I'm going to say... They're both very iconic and very watchable and watched pretty much every year. But I remember Elf coming out, and I don't remember Muppets Christmas Carol coming out. It just always was there, and it's been iconic through my entire life. And I remember watching it in primary school around Christmas time, where they, you know, those times where they'd wheel in the old giant fat TVs and put it on, and you wouldn't actually have a normal class. And I just have better nostalgic memories of a Muppets Christmas Carol, stretching back further over the course of my life until like beyond where I can even remember, really.
So
I'm going Muppets Christmas Carol.
You're putting it through the premise of the nostalgia. Every time you see it, you know Christmas is here.
Well, no, they're both as nostalgic for me as each other.
Right.
But there's more nostalgia that reaches back further.
It's a very tough decision. But I do agree with your points about Muppets Christmas Carol. It's just an excellent film. And as you said, Michael Caine gives it that edge. Will Ferrell's great.
You're right, don't think you're saying your words aren't going out.
No, Will Ferrell's great. I just had a bit of indigestion. Will Ferrell's great, but seeing Michael Caine for that first time, like just appear as Scrooge, it just hit differently.
Just being a prick.
Yeah,
everyone.
so...
Alright.
Sorry, buddy.
Buddy the Elf is knocked out. Die Hard versus It's a Wonderful Life.
Now, on paper, this should be pretty simple in terms of the content of It's a Wonderful Life versus Die Hard. Like, if you weigh it up in terms of looking at Christmas films, but it's not actually like that. I think this is a tough one.
Die Hard is a brilliant film, and it kind of became like a bit of a meme recently of saying, "Oh, it's actually a Christmas film." But people always they would say it as if like, "Oh, you know, technically, when you really think about it and you look at it through this angle and blah blah blah." And I never found that. When you watch Die Hard, it's well Christmassy. Yeah. Christmas is like linked back and forth. The soundtrack's all Christmassy. There's Christmas decorations everywhere. It's snowing. It's a Christmas film. It is a Christmas film. It's way more Christmassy than people give it credit for.
I think when he gets first picked up in the limo, he makes a joke about it being Christmas and no snow.
Because it's so hot in LA.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, because it doesn't actually snow at the end. What happens? It's the white powder film. It's the ash.
Looks like snow. I mean, let's get this straight. They're both classics in their own right. That's a fact. But I think that the story behind It's a Wonderful Life and kind of like the hope it's given a lot of people and what's involved in the film, I think it gives the edge over Die Hard, is my personal opinion.
I think it's got to be It's a Wonderful Life through to the final.
Did you foresee it being these two? Any surprises or shocks?
Home Alone I thought would be in the final.
It is like any tournament, it's about the luck of the draw. So if Muppets Christmas Carol came up against Home Alone, then there'll be a very decision to make. But it's got here for a draw, but it's also got here on merit. So I think all in all, a good final, really.
Alright. What's your favourite moments or most memorable scenes from Muppets Christmas Carol?
Obviously Kermit's like that, like his employee, but when you like see Tiny Tim and there's a little Kermit with a little walking stick and you're like, and then how sad Michael Caine gets when he sees like the empty chair and he's like, where's Tiny Tim? I just thought that was good.
Yeah, for me, like you said, the whole death Ghost of Christmas Future sequence is just brilliant. Because once it gets a bit serious, and I'm not really into like the classics necessarily, but there's something about, I've never read anything other Dickens, I haven't even read this. There's something about A Christmas Carol where there's a reason you can redo it 900 billion times.
Yeah.
And it's not just the fact that there's no copyright. There's just something about it that is just such a brilliant story. And you combine that with the Muppets, and I do think this is the best version of A Christmas Carol we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's just fantastic. It's a Wonderful Life has so many great memorable moments. The whole sequence of the run on the banks and Jimmy Stewart losing everything and having to go and desperately ask for help from the old evil Mr. whatever he's called, I can't remember his name now. You know, the flashback sequences where you see, you know, when he was a kid and the old man slapped him around the head and made his ear bleed, and when he saved his little brother. You know, him constantly trying to leave town and get his chance to go do things and live his life and explore and travel, and one thing or another always pulling him back. And the whole final sequence, like, it's just fucking perfect.
Yeah, or for me, when he Clarence is deliberately drowning himself because he knows that Jimmy is a man of good heart and he will jump in after him. Yeah, and the final sequence of when a bell rings, an angel gets his wings, and you know that Clarence has done his job on Earth, and he's now not an angel of the second class, he's an angel of the first class, and he has his wings. Just all of that together. I mean, at times, I've watched it quite a few times, it still makes me quite emotional. Still has that resonance to me, personally.
I literally, it's the only movie that ever makes me cry.
Yeah.
Other than Babe when I was like 8.
And obviously The Muppets is a great film, but it just doesn't have that power to do that. So there's one winner.
I think we gave away the game kind of early when I was saying it was my favourite film ever, one of my favourite films ever, but I thought there was only, unless Home Alone made it to the final, which like we said earlier, that was our final early on, Home Alone versus It's a Wonderful Life. Once Home Alone went out early, there was never going to be any other winner. It's a Wonderful Life.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right. That's right. Attaboy, Clarence.